Tonight, I want to talk to you about one decision that is quietly keeping many people poor. It is not a dramatic decision. It does not feel dangerous. It does not look like a mistake. It often looks like being reasonable. It even looks like being responsible. But it has a price, and the price is your future. The decision is this: you keep choosing comfort over growth, not once. Not in one big moment, but in thousands of small moments that feel harmless. You choose what is familiar over what is necessary. You choose what is easy over what is effective. You choose what makes you feel safe over what makes you stronger. And because it is quiet, it is easy to deny. Because it is common, it is easy to justify. And because it is slow, it is easy to ignore. Ask yourself something, honestly. Have you ever looked at a successful person and thought, they must have had some advantage I do not have? Maybe you told yourself it was talent. Maybe it was luck. Maybe it was connections. Maybe it was timing. That is a common story people tell. It is a comforting story, because if success is mostly luck, then you are not responsible for your outcome. If success is mostly talent, then you can stop trying without feeling guilty. If success is mostly connections, then you can stay passive and call it realistic. You can wait for someone to rescue you and call it timing. But here is the myth I want you to drop right now. Success is not a lottery that rewards a few special people. It is not a gift that falls on the lucky. It is more like a mirror. It reflects what you do repeatedly, not what you intend, not what you promise, not what you think about. What you do and the people you call successful are often not extraordinary. They are consistent. They are not always smarter. They are often more willing to do what most people avoid, more willing to be uncomfortable for a season so they can live with freedom later, more willing to build what cannot be seen yet. Many people believe a second myth, and it is even more damaging. They believe success is supposed to feel good most of the time. They think if the path is right, it will feel natural, smooth, easy. They assume discomfort is a warning sign. They assume resistance means they are on the wrong path. But discomfort is not always a warning. Often it is a doorway. It is the feeling of your limits expanding. It is the soreness of a muscle that is finally being used. It is the strain of a mind learning to think at a higher level. It is the pressure of a person becoming responsible enough to handle more. Comfort tells you to avoid that door. Comfort tells you to stay inside the small room you already know. And then you wonder why your life feels small. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they keep making a decision that feels good now and costs them later. Comfort is not evil. Rest is not wrong. Enjoyment is not a problem. The problem is when comfort becomes your leader, when comfort becomes your standard, when comfort decides your schedule, your friendships, your habits, your thinking, and your goals. You do not become poor only by losing money. You become poor by losing edge, by losing time, by losing discipline, by losing the ability to delay gratification. And that usually happens long before your bank account shows it. Here is how it happens in real life. You wake up tired, you reach for your phone, you tell yourself you are just checking one thing, but your mind is now filled with other people's lives before you have even entered your own. You feel behind, you feel anxious, you feel scattered, so you choose comfort again. You postpone the hard work because you do not feel ready. You say you will start later. Later becomes a habit, and habits become identity. Ask yourself, are you the kind of person who starts when it is convenient, or the kind of person who starts because it is necessary? Are you the kind of person who waits for the mood, or the kind of person who creates a routine? Not what you hope you are, what you actually are in your daily behavior. Now, let me offer you a different lens. Imagine your life as a house under construction, not the kind of house that appears in one day, a real house, foundation, frame, wiring, plumbing, insulation, roof, paint, details. Most people want the finished house. They want the picture. They want the results. But they do not want the stage where the house looks ugly, noisy, and incomplete. They do not want the stage where the ground is dug up, where the foundation is poured, where nothing looks impressive yet, where the work is messy and slow and invisible from the street. Invisible work is the part of success nobody claps for. It is the reading when nobody is watching, the practice when nobody is praising, the saving when nobody knows, the planning when nobody cares, the early mornings, the quiet evenings, the repetitive drills, the small improvements, the uncomfortable decisions, the discipline that looks boring. And this is where comfort becomes dangerous, because comfort hates invisible work. Comfort wants rewards before effort. Comfort wants proof before commitment. Comfort wants certainty before action. Comfort says, I will start when I feel ready. Growth says, you will feel ready after you start. Invisible work also teaches you a special kind of strength. It teaches you how to work without applause. It teaches you how to keep going without validation. It teaches you how to build the ability to finish, not just the ability to begin. And that ability is rare. That ability is valuable. That ability is a form of wealth. A person who can do invisible work can outgrow almost any circumstance. Because circumstances change, but skill stays. People come and go, but discipline stays. Markets shift, but the ability to learn and adapt stays. Ask yourself, where have you been seeking approval instead of seeking progress? Where have you been performing for attention instead of practicing for mastery? Where have you been waiting for others to believe in you when the real issue is that you have not built enough evidence to believe in yourself? The invisible stage is also where you build your standards. You decide what you tolerate. You decide what you normalize. You decide what normal looks like in your home, in your schedule, in your mindset. Some people normalize chaos. They normalize sleeping late, rushing, and reacting. They normalize spending whatever is left. They normalize half-finished projects. They normalize excuses. Other people normalize structure. They normalize planning. They normalize learning. They normalize exercise. They normalize saving. They normalize keeping promises to themselves, not because they are special, because they decided to. Now let us talk about the moment when preparation meets opportunity. People like to say, I need an opportunity, but opportunity is not enough. Many people get opportunities and waste them because they are not prepared to hold them. They are not prepared to keep them. They are not prepared to grow into them. Think of it like a law, a simple law. The law of readiness. Opportunity does not change your life. Readiness does. Opportunity is like a visitor. It knocks. It waits a little. If you are ready, you open the door and you can handle what comes next. If you are not ready, you panic, you hesitate, you make excuses, and the visitor leaves. And later you say, I missed my chance. But the deeper truth is, your chance arrived and found you unprepared. Readiness is not luck. It is practice. It is preparation. It is the private choices that make you capable in public moments. It is the hours you invest before anyone sees the result. It is the humility to be a student long enough to become a professional. If you want this to be practical, treat your life like a case that must be won in court. Evidence matters. Patterns matter. What is written down matters. What you can prove matters. In the court of life, your dreams are not evidence. Your intentions are not evidence. Your potential is not evidence. Your daily actions are evidence. Ask yourself, if your future went on trial today and your habits were the evidence, would your future be found guilty of progress or guilty of procrastination? Would your routines prove that you are building something, or would they prove that you are avoiding discomfort? This is not about judgment. It is about clarity, because clarity gives you power. When you see your patterns, you can change them. When you keep them hidden, you stay controlled by them. The truth is, most people are not ready for the life they say they want. They want more money, but they are not ready to manage it. They want more freedom, but they are not ready to handle responsibility. They want respect, but they are not ready to earn it. They want results, but they are not ready for the process. And readiness has a simple requirement. You must do the work before you get the reward. That sounds obvious, but many people live the opposite way. They spend before they save. They celebrate before they build. They demand before they develop. They seek status before they create value. They ask for a better life while protecting the habits that created the current one. Readiness is built in private, and comfort keeps you from building it because comfort always negotiates. Comfort always asks, do you really have to do this today? Comfort always says, you can do it tomorrow. Comfort always says, you deserve a break. And sometimes you do. But if comfort is always the answer, then tomorrow becomes a graveyard of unkept promises. Now listen carefully. Pressure does not create your character. Pressure reveals it. When life gets tight, you see what is real. When money is low, you see how you think. When time is limited, you see what you value. When stress is high, you see what habits actually run your life. Some people think they will become disciplined when they feel less pressure. But the truth is the opposite. Pressure is the test. Pressure is the mirror. Pressure shows whether you have built systems or whether you have relied on moods. Let me give you 2 real-life examples. First, think about the person who gets paid and immediately feels relief. They tell themselves, now I can breathe. And in that relief, they spend. They reward themselves. They buy small things that feel like comfort. They eat out. They upgrade something. They say, I work hard, I deserve it. And maybe they do, but they do it every time. And each time they are not just spending money, they are spending tomorrow. Then an unexpected expense arrives. A medical bill, a repair, a family need. Suddenly the pressure rises, and what happens? Panic, borrowing, stress, arguments. They feel trapped. They tell themselves life is unfair, but what pressure reveals is a pattern. They use comfort as a coping mechanism, not a reward earned from a stable plan. They use spending to soothe emotion, not to build security. And the habit stayed invisible until pressure exposed it. Now, the second example is the person who is trying to build a skill for a better future. Maybe they want to learn a trade, a language, a software tool, a service they can sell. At first, they feel excited. They watch videos. They buy a course. They tell others. They imagine the future. But after a few weeks, the learning becomes difficult. It becomes slow. They hit confusion. They feel stupid. The initial excitement fades. Pressure arrives in the form of discomfort. And what happens? They stop. They say, maybe I am not the type who can learn this. They say, I do not have time. They say, I will come back to it when things calm down. But things do not magically calm down. Life keeps moving. And the skill they could have built remains a dream. Pressure revealed a different pattern. They were addicted to the feeling of starting, not committed to the reality of building. They wanted the identity of being a learner, not the discipline of becoming skilled. And the moment the work stopped feeling comfortable, they returned to what was familiar. These 2 examples look different. One is money, one is learning, but the pattern is the same. Comfort became the decision maker. Comfort became the strategy. And comfort is not a strategy. Comfort is a feeling. Ask yourself, when pressure shows up, do you become smaller or stronger? Do you reach for distractions or do you reach for discipline? Do you escape or do you engage? Do you repeat what is familiar or do you choose what is necessary? Now, let us talk about focus, because focus is one of the richest assets you own. And most people treat it like it is free. Your attention is not free. It is the currency of your life. What you give your attention to becomes your life. Not what you say you value, what you actually pay attention to. Distraction is not just a nuisance, it is a thief. It steals hours, not in a dramatic robbery, but in tiny withdrawals. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. A quick check, a small break, a little scrolling, a little gossip, a little comparison, a little drama. And then you look up and a year has passed. Protect your focus like gold, because focus is how you build skill. Focus is how you create value. Focus is how you solve problems. Focus is how you become rare. Most people are poor because their mind is scattered. They start many things and finish few. They chase quick wins and avoid deep work. They consume more than they create. They react more than they plan. They live in a constant state of noise. Here is a principle for you, the law of depth. Your income will usually follow the depth of your value, and depth requires focus. If you want to be paid more, you must become more valuable. If you want to become more valuable, you must develop skills and solve problems that others cannot or will not. And that requires concentration, repetition, and patience. Focus is not only about working harder, it is about choosing the right target and staying on it long enough to make progress. Many people work hard in the wrong direction. They stay busy, but they do not get better. They do many tasks, but they do not build a core skill. They run all day, but they do not move forward. Ask yourself, what is the main skill that could change your life in the next 2 years if you mastered it? Not 10 skills, not 20. 1, a skill that creates value, a skill that solves a real problem, a skill that people will pay for. And then ask yourself, are you protecting time to build that skill, or are you donating your time to distractions? Distraction does not only come from phones. It comes from unnecessary debates. It comes from trying to impress people who do not build with you. It comes from saying yes too often. It comes from carrying other people's chaos because you do not have clear boundaries. Focus means you decide what matters and you let other things be unfinished. Focus means you accept that you cannot do everything, but you can do what is essential. Focus means you are willing to be misunderstood for a season so you can be free later. Now, I want to give you a growth sequence that can change how you operate. It is simple, but it is not easy. Learn, apply, evaluate, correct, persist. First, learn, not endlessly, not for entertainment. Learn with purpose. Learn what the market needs. Learn what solves real problems. Learn what makes you more capable. Learn what strengthens your foundation. Learning with purpose means you are not collecting information like souvenirs. You are building tools. You learn and you ask, how will I use this? You learn and you ask, what problem does this solve? You learn and you ask, what action does this require? Then apply. Because knowledge that is not applied is not power. It is just information. Application turns learning into skill. It turns ideas into results. It turns theory into confidence. Application is where comfort tries to stop you, because applying means you might look foolish at first. It means you might fail publicly. It means you might make mistakes. It means you might be slow. But you do not avoid that. You accept it. You move through it. Because the only way to become good is to be willing to be bad at first. Then evaluate. Look at what happened. Do not lie to yourself. Do not blame everything on the world. Measure, observe, ask what worked, what did not. Where did I struggle? Where did I improve? Evaluation is a mature habit. It is what separates people who repeat the same year 10 times from people who grow year by year. If you do not evaluate, you will keep making the same errors while calling it experience. Then correct. Make adjustments. Improve the system. Change the method. Tighten the process. Remove what wastes time. Strengthen what produces results. Correction requires humility. It requires you to admit, my way is not perfect. It requires you to be teachable, not weak. Teachable. Strong people are teachable because they care more about results than ego. Then persist. Because the world is full of people who learn a little and quit. It is full of people who try once and stop. Persistence is what allows the sequence to compound. Persistence is what turns small improvements into a new identity. Ask yourself, where are you stuck in this sequence? Are you learning but not applying? Are you applying but not evaluating? Are you evaluating but not correcting? Are you correcting but not persisting? The sequence only works when you keep moving. Now, let us speak about discipline over motivation. Motivation is a mood. Discipline is a method. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you feel inspired. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel confident. Some days you doubt yourself. If your life depends on motivation, your life will be unstable because your emotions are not consistent. Discipline is what you do when you do not feel like it. Discipline is what you do because you decided, not because you are excited. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Here is another law, the law of systems. Your results are not produced by your goals, they are produced by your systems. A goal is a direction. A system is a vehicle. Many people love goals because goals feel good. Goals give you a fantasy. Systems require effort. Systems require structure. Systems require you to face reality. If you want to escape the quiet trap of comfort, build systems that make growth automatic. Make it easy to do the right thing, not by making the work easy, but by reducing friction around the work. Set a time to learn. Set a time to practice. Set a time to review. Plan your week before it starts. Track your expenses before they become emergencies. Prepare your meals before hunger makes decisions for you. Build routines that do not require a daily debate with yourself. Also build systems that protect your energy. Sleep is a system. Food is a system. Movement is a system. If you treat your body like it does not matter, your mind will pay the price. If your mind is exhausted, your discipline will weaken. Then comfort will take over again. Discipline is not punishment. It is protection. It protects you from your own moods. It protects you from your own impulses. It protects you from the short-term self that trades tomorrow for today. Because the truth is, every day you are either building discipline or building excuses. Every day you are either training your mind to follow through or training your mind to quit. Ask yourself, do you trust yourself? Do you trust your own promises? If you do not, you are not broken. You are simply untrained. And training is available. It starts with small acts of follow-through. One day you do what you said you would do. One day you keep the appointment with yourself. One day you stop negotiating. One day you act like your future matters. Now, understand strategic patience. Many people are poor because they want fast results from slow processes. They plant a seed and dig it up the next morning to see if it grew. They work for a week and expect a new life. They practice for a month and expect mastery. They save for a short time and expect wealth. But life has seasons, and seasons do not rush for your feelings. There is a season for planting, a season for watering, a season for waiting, a season for harvesting, a season for protecting what you grew. And if you skip the early seasons, the later seasons do not arrive. Strategic patience is not laziness. It is intelligent endurance. It is the ability to keep doing the right thing without immediate applause. Patience also means you stop overreacting to small setbacks. You do not treat one bad day like a verdict on your whole future. You do not treat one mistake like proof you cannot succeed. You treat it as feedback. You treat it as part of the process. Ask yourself, are you quitting too early? Are you changing direction too often? Are you restarting because you cannot handle being a beginner? Are you sabotaging long-term gain for short-term comfort? Patience means you accept the timeline of mastery. You accept that your skill will feel clumsy before it feels smooth. You accept that your income will grow in steps, not in a straight line. You accept that your reputation will be built slowly, but it will be strong because it is earned. A person who understands seasons does not panic in the planting stage. They do not feel ashamed because the ground looks empty. They know what they are doing. They know what is coming if they keep watering. Now, let us talk about feedback and refinement, because this is where many people stay stuck. They work hard, but they do not measure. They stay busy, but they do not improve. If you want a different outcome, you need data. You need feedback. You need correction. Imagine trying to drive to a destination with no map and no signs. You might move, but you will waste fuel. You might feel busy, but you will drift. Measurement is not about judging yourself harshly. It is about telling the truth. It is about seeing reality clearly so you can adjust. Ask yourself, do you track your spending? Do you track your learning hours? Do you track your workouts? Do you track your output? Do you review your week? Or do you live in a fog and hope things improve? Hope is not a strategy. It is a feeling. Refinement is a strategy. It is a practice. Here is a practical principle. The law of small corrections. Tiny adjustments repeated consistently, create massive change. You do not need to redesign your life every month. You need to refine your habits every week. You need to notice one leak and fix it. You need to notice one weakness and strengthen it. You need to notice one distraction and remove it. Feedback can come from many places. It can come from results. It can come from mentors. It can come from customers. It can come from your own journal. But the key is not where it comes from. The key is what you do with it. Some people collect feedback and feel ashamed. They take it personally. They make it emotional. Then they stop. Other people collect feedback and get precise. They make one change. They test again. They improve. That is refinement. And you need to do that again and again. This is how you become the person who improves, not by intense bursts, but by steady calibration. Now, momentum and compounding. This is where many people finally understand why comfort was keeping them poor. Because comfort stops momentum before it starts. Momentum is the result of repeated action. It is the feeling that things are moving. It is the evidence that you are becoming consistent. Compounding is what happens when momentum has time. Small actions begin to stack. Small skills begin to combine. Small savings begin to grow. Small relationships begin to deepen. Your identity begins to shift. Think of a flywheel. At first, it is heavy. It does not want to move. You push and it barely turns. You push again and it turns a little more. You push again and it begins to hold some speed. You push again and it starts to move with less effort. Over time, the same push creates more movement because the wheel has momentum. This is how your life works. In the beginning, discipline feels hard because you have no momentum. You are pushing a heavy wheel, and comfort whispers, see, this is too hard, stop. But if you push long enough, the wheel starts to turn, and then it becomes easier to keep going than to quit. Compounding is also why small bad habits are expensive. A little spending that you ignore becomes a lifestyle. A little distraction that you excuse becomes a pattern. A little procrastination that you tolerate becomes your character. Not overnight, but over time. Ask yourself, where are you quitting right before momentum begins? Where are you stopping because the early stage feels slow? Where are you refusing to push long enough to feel the flywheel effect? Compounding does not reward intensity once. It rewards consistency over time. And that is why the comfort decision is so costly. Comfort keeps resetting the wheel back to zero. Now we arrive at the final shift. Breakthrough is not a single event, it is a lifestyle. Many people want one breakthrough moment that changes everything. But the truth is, the breakthrough you are looking for is usually the moment you stop living as a part-time builder of your life. When you make growth your lifestyle, your choices change. Your environment changes. Your conversations change. Your standards change. You stop asking, what do I feel like doing? And you start asking, what does my future require? You stop seeking comfort as your default. You start seeking strength. You start seeking competence. You start seeking clarity. And something else happens. Your self-respect returns. Self-respect is one of the most powerful forms of wealth, because when you respect yourself, you do not sell your time cheaply. You do not stay in habits that drain you. You do not live in constant regret. You do not tolerate your own excuses. This is the emotional elevation that changes everything, not the hype of a temporary mood, but the calm power of alignment, the feeling that your actions match your values, the quiet confidence that you are becoming someone you can rely on. A breakthrough lifestyle means you do not wait for life to become easier before you become disciplined. You become disciplined so life can become easier. Not perfectly, not instantly, but steadily. It means you choose relationships that support growth, not relationships that demand you stay the same. It means you choose environments that protect focus, not environments that feed distraction. It means you choose habits that build freedom, not habits that borrow from tomorrow. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you stopped choosing comfort over growth? If you woke up and treated your focus as sacred? If you treated your time like it mattered? If you treated your future like it was watching? One day you would be less distracted, One day you would be more skilled. One day you would be more financially stable. One day you would be more calm. One day you would be more respected. One day you would look back and realize the problem was never that you lacked potential. The problem was that you kept choosing the easier path when the better path required patience. Before you make that decision, notice how comfort hides. Comfort does not always look like lying on a couch. Sometimes comfort looks like staying busy with low-level tasks so you can avoid the high-level ones. Sometimes comfort looks like perfecting small details so you do not have to face the risk of shipping your work. Sometimes comfort looks like researching forever so you do not have to act. Sometimes comfort looks like helping everyone else so you can avoid building your own life. Comfort hides behind good excuses because good excuses protect you from the truth. Ask yourself, where are you protecting your ego instead of protecting your future? Where are you choosing the small certainty of, at least I did something, instead of the larger progress of doing the one thing that actually matters? Not 10 things, the one thing that moves the needle. And understand this, growth will ask you to update your environment. You cannot build a new life with old influences that keep pulling you back. This does not mean you judge people. It means you choose carefully. If you spend your best hours around distraction, your focus will leak. If you spend your best energy around negativity, your courage will shrink. If you spend your best attention around comparison, your gratitude will disappear. Your environment is either feeding your future or feeding your comfort. There is also a financial side to this decision that most people miss. Poverty is often maintained by a pattern of short-term thinking. Not because you are weak, but because you were never trained to think long-term. Comfort trains you to ask, what do I want right now? Growth trains you to ask, what will I be grateful for later? One question keeps you trapped. The other builds freedom. When you start asking the second question daily, you begin to act like a builder, not a consumer. One day you will realize something simple. The life you want is not on the other side of more information. It is on the other side of more alignment. It is on the other side of doing what you already know you should do, even when it is inconvenient. That is the decision. Comfort or growth. Cheap relief or lasting change. So make a decision now. Not a dramatic decision, a quiet one. The decision to choose growth when comfort tries to take control. Choose the task that builds you. Choose the habit that strengthens you. Choose the system that protects you. Choose the patience that matures you. And when you feel resistance, remember this. Resistance is not a sign you should stop. Resistance is a sign you are touching something valuable. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You do not need to be fearless. You need to be faithful to the process. You do not need a miracle. You need a method. Learn, apply, evaluate, correct, persist. Protect your focus like gold. Build systems that beat moods. Respect seasons and let time work for you. Measure what matters and refine your path. Push the flywheel until it turns and make breakthrough your lifestyle. Because poverty is not only a lack of money, it is often a lack of discipline, a lack of focus, a lack of patience, and a habit of choosing comfort over growth. You can change that quietly, repeatedly, starting today.